All right, today we are going to enjoy my first book rant. Oh my God, I can't. So, I have finally finished, as I'm trying to put them in the right order so you see them in the right order, this shit show of a series. My dear God. Okay, number one. This is not fantasy. Okay, it's YA fantasy with some pornography in it to make it adult. Full stop. And it's about character development. It's about modernization. It's about all sorts of things that these books belong in YA, as do most romantasy books. Almost all of them, in fact, are essentially like Pride and Prejudice meets dragons or griffins or some other sort of magical creature that you don't understand and haven't researched and know nothing about beyond like basic descriptions of what they are. Anyway, and obviously in fantasy you make up your own world, right? But you actually have to bolster that and defend that and consistently represent it in a way that grounds it into the reader and makes it fully believable. And what you want is an alienation from the world and an immersion in the humanness. That's what good fantasy is, right? You want to recognize and be familiar with the humanness, the character traits, the patterns of universal expression that make up humanity. Anyway, whatever. I wanted to love this because, the main character is disabled in the first book, and it's about, there are things you can't do. It's not inspo porn, disability stuff, but then it kind of becomes that, right? It's like, oh, well, I pushed my body so freaking hard and repeatedly dislocated all these things in ways that were extremely severe and way worse than I ever have in my whole life, but they just immediately got better every single time. It didn't create a long-term degradation. It didn't, there was... Anyway, it's fine. Whatever. It is what it is. I actually read this third book a year after it came out, almost a year after buying it. I buy these books from Book Outlet when they come on sale for like $7 or something. It'll be like a $7.99 fiction sale. And I'm like, okay, because I'll have read it from the library or something usually beforehand. But this one, by the time it came out, I was already kind of like, meh. I don't want to read any more pornography. I'm so over the graphic sex scenes. They're unnecessary. They add nothing. And I consider them toxic. When you see what pornography does to human brains, and we have a lot of data on this, I don't think putting it into general fiction of any genre is a good idea. There are and always have been ways to intimate at intimacy in language that does not require graphic description straight from the most disgusting, despicable pornographic stuff and it's the exact pattern of every point. Like, it's just, no thank you. We've already degraded human brains enough by degrading curricula, degrading standards, and all manner of other things. Let us not continue to put smut in books when they are not erotica. Even erotica writes sex better than this shit. I'm sorry, I don't even like it. It's not my thing. I don't have a problem with anyone who does like it. I think everyone's got to have, their way of enjoying writing. But say what you will about erotica, it's still generally better writing than this, whatever this situation is. Plot, narrative, tradition, storytelling, structural, like all of these things are a kind of science, whether you're capable of understanding that they are or not. We have 3,000 years of human storytelling. And in them, there are universal thematics that ever recur above and beyond us simply retelling them. And this crap is I'm so angry about it. When I got to the end of this book, and by the way, I got to the end around about page 400 when I was like, fuck me. And I skipped all the way forward to the last two chapters to just see what was going to happen. And I got to the last chapter and I was like, what the hang on a second. And then I went back and read the 2 chapters before and I went, Jesus fucking Christ, what? I still ended up with the, what is happening at the end? And you can say, oh, well, you skipped the middle half, so how do you know it's bad? I know it's bad because I had to skip it. I am triple S editor, substantive, stylistic, structural. It takes a lot to make me have to stop reading. Excuse me. Particularly something that is so popularized, excuse me, and marketed as some kind of best-selling, amazing piece of literary fiction. And it's just, I mean, I know it's not literary fiction in the way that you would understand it, but either way, this is considered top-notch for what it is, okay? Within romance, there are way better romanticises out there. Exponentially better romanticises out there. This, I can't even. People are out there being like, oh, AI wrote this. Sorry, no. AI, even in 2024, would have written a better book than this garbage. Okay, sorry. I know people want to be all doomer, doubter, gloomer about AI, but let me be honest with you. It is very good at certain things, and had an AI written this book, the developmental editor that this publishing house obviously has enough money to pay for, given the success of the prior books and how many of this crap fest got sold as well, although I'm sure the numbers for this book were much lower than the prior two in terms of sales. But regardless, they absolutely had the money to hire the highest quality, best, most professional developmental editor to come in and just fix it. And then a copy editor to come in and really fix it. I can promise you that had a professional editor or 2 professional editors gotten their hands on an AI version of this manuscript drafted from a plot summary and the input of the 2 prior novels as reference copy, we would have got a fantastic book. Okay, I'm sorry. So don't be mad about AI and thinking AI wrote this, okay? The other thing, humans are not inherently, authentically better at anything than AI. I want, especially creative, like you need to stop thinking that creativity is some amazing human thing that is uniquely ours, because there are vast numbers of humans that cannot do it. I'm sorry, but not everybody can sing, not everybody can play an instrument, not everybody has rhythm, not everybody can write. In fact, people that have a high gift for writing and the personality matrix that allows for commitment to craft work are a rare freaking breed. We are rare. Okay, you cannot just, they're not everywhere. Okay, good storytelling is rare. You know what else is rare? Exceptional substantive, stylistic, structural editors. Rare. Okay, so this idea that you can just that AI is inherently going to be worse than any human, sorry, but very few humans are actually good writers. Very few humans that you think are great writers are actually great writers, because the story has been massaged and finessed by a technological workflow of multiple production layers. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm not saying, and yes, these were humans using technology to layer the workflow, but either way, it's not like it's a piece of a soul going out in a soul container, okay? It is not authentic human expression. No more than most popular music is anything close to authentic human expression. It is technologically produced to the nth degree. The rhythm is adjusted. The beat can be adjusted. If the singer's offbeat, it can be adjusted into the rhythm. The pitch can be corrected. Auto-tune can be put on. There, reverb, so layered vocals, right? Every time you hear a singer, you're like, oh wow, that's so great. They double the vocal track. It gives it a fullness and a sound that's amazing, okay? So just stop. Don't act like AI is some big baddie coming in and going to ruin all creative expression, because technological production and sandwiching workflows in media industry and acquisitions, both talent and manuscript, have altered and shifted to a point where everything is about shoving it through a matrix of popularity. and it becomes smoothed. Anything unique, original, authentic becomes smoothed into marketable copy. So, you know what I'm saying? Just stop pretending that we don't already have technologically produced content. Don't pretend like every human that writes anything is therefore amazing, so anything that's bad writing must of course be AI. Let's stop that shit right now. Humans can do bad writing. Humans frequently write very, very poorly, so badly in fact. And anyone out there that wants to be all like, oh, there's no such thing as good and bad writing, there's only opinion. Yeah, there's an opinion of someone that's never read anything more than Dr. Seuss, and then there's an opinion of someone who's read the entire fucking Western canon. I wonder which opinion is more valuable, accurate, likely to produce something of value. Like, fuck off already. I'm sorry. Not everybody can sing. I cannot wait, in fact, for AI to truly take off, because here's what I think is going to happen. I think AI is going to create an empty resonance loop as humans are exposed to more and more and more of it, and more altered content and more edited content, where AI kind of smooths out in the same way that technological production kind of smooths the human out of music. And humans are going to seek content like this. Raw, face on, no production, a little ring light maybe, just so you can see my face in the dark apartment I tend to sit in. With my autistic senses, I prefer low light. But anyway, not the point. Point is, people create, you can already see trending towards it. You can already see a thirst for it. And in fact, in music, this has been coming on for a very long time. People know there's something wrong. You don't get people singing the same. If people are out there singing songs on repeat or play, that none of them are going to be from this century. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it. Not century, sorry. Oh yeah, technically. Yeah, pretty much, more or less. I mean, maybe a few before the 2010s hit. Seems like 2010 was the fucking nexus of shit happening. And by shit, I mean shit beginning to become shit. Everything beginning to become shit. The enshittification pipeline began in 2010, I think. And that's on a massive macro and micro tech scale, like everywhere you can think of. I'd love to actually kind of chase that down and maybe write a paper about, 2010 as the crux year of everything falling apart and why that matters. But anyway, it doesn't matter. My point is, I believe humans will be drawn more and more to authentic content, which means that AI will take the roles of the middleman. A lot of authors are angry about the gatekeeping. I can't get my manuscript to get read by the people that can decide to publish it, blah, 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 blah. Well, self-publishing could allow your manuscript to get in front of a lot of people, and right now it is. Unfortunately, self-published manuscripts are frequently poorly formatted, poorly edited, because they can't afford a proper editor at the level that a publishing house can, and on it goes. So AI could become an editorial workflow that could help good writers with good storytelling, good character writing, build a full novel, a full series, and have professional level editorial without paying $5,000 fucking dollars, right? And I want to be clear, that's what I do. So do I want to be put out of that job? Yeah, kinda, because then maybe I can just start writing poetry books and selling them, or making more videos and talking about stuff, or all manner of other things. Right? I am happy to pivot my life into a different direction. I'm happy to pivot into training agentic workflows, training AI models to understand what it is that I do. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't have a problem with that because I think it will lead to a massive outgrowth of human creativity, human ingenuity, and authentic humanness being put back into the foreground of our entire media, cultural, and public square ethos. What a fucking glorious thing that would be. Anyway, that's my rant on the Empyrean Trilogy that has now become a quintet. And by the way, I did not even realize it had become a quintet until I finished reading this book and was like, what the fuck? And went and tried to find out, oh, it's 5 now. They decided to extend it. And I'm going, how could they not have marketed that extension well enough that I, who am like basically living in book world half the time and constantly seeking out what's new and happening and where the trends are going, that I didn't realize that had went from a trilogy to a quintet. That is how disinterested, that's either how disinterested I became after Iron Flame, possible, but I was really excited about Onyx Storm coming out. I literally kind of forgot the name of the book, and it's right there. God. I was kind of excited about it coming out, but then, so it was on my radar is my point. So somehow it didn't get through that this was not the final book before I read it over a year after it came out. Like, that is damning, really. Because, you finish a sequel, you're excited for the next one. I finished the sequel about like 6 months, maybe 3 to 6 months before this one came out. And I say 6 months because really I had to wait 3 months to get it from my library after I requested it for a hold. So it was really, I think, 3 months before it came out, and then another 3 months before I got my hands on it. And then I got my hands on it, and I was like, meh, and I couldn't even be bothered, and I didn't bother. And then I bought it because I have a collection completion problem when it comes to media. And I felt like I had the first 2, and I had to get the third one. And so I went on Book Outlet, and luckily, highly overprinted texts that are overprinted simply to create displays in books. Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Show up on Book Outlet pretty quickly, so you can get really cheap copies of the book relatively soon after they've come out. But anyway, point is, shit show. I'm so disappointed. I really love the idea. I think the world building was great for YA fantasy. Again, this is a miscategorized book, number 1. It is YA fantasy. It needed an exceptionally strong developmental and copy edit. It also needed to have all of the sex removed, so it could just be YA, right? Let's just shove some sex in a YA book and then we can call it adult. No, that is not how writing works. That's not how genre categorization works. And what the fuck? Who is coming up with this idea? I know, let's dumb down what we call adult fantasy. Let's reset the standards just so we can include pornographic fucking sex scenes. Because chicks love that shit. I don't know. I don't know how many chicks actually like reading about the graphic sex. I personally do not. I find it distracting and pointless, and I end up skipping over all of it. But to be fair, for these books, I skim through like easily 45% of the last 2. The last one like way more than that, because I skipped like a good 300 pages from about the combat at the second island, maybe, or the first island to the end. I don't care. I just don't care. I literally do not care. And you know why I didn't care? Because it didn't fucking matter. It had absolutely no relevance on how the plot moved, as it turns out. So anyway, I do skim a lot of YA fantasy anyways, because I can. And it's really easy for me to capture all of what matters by skim reading. And that's how it should be when you're a highly trained reader reading YA fantasy. You should be able to skim it, finish it very, very quickly, absorb everything that matters, and have an assessment of it. Because that's the level where it is meant to be. That's where the character development should be. That's where the world building should be. That's where the dialogue should be. Because that is what it is. And it's okay for it to be that. But shoving pornographic sex in and then calling it adult fantasy doesn't make it adult fantasy. Neither does having dragons. Okay? It's not reasonable. The world was not built out enough to support an adult fantasy designation. It was not built out enough to support a quintet. It was not built out enough to even support this book. And it wasn't built out enough even to be comprehensive YA. It's just, I almost wonder if the disaster that is this book is them being like, oh man, we got to make this a little more adult and complicate it a bit and build out the world so that people don't call it shitty fantasy anymore. And then they just made it shittier fantasy. That's my theory. That's what I think happened. What a shit show. That's all I can say. I'm gonna read the next two because, as I said, I have a collection completion problem. But if the fourth book is anything like this one, I'm probably gonna wait 2 months and go read a bunch of reviews that give full spoilers for the entire plot, just so I can find out how it ends, which has become kind of how I watch TV now. The fast forward button is my best friend. I fast forward through about 10% of most shows. Inauthentic intimacy makes me really uncomfortable. So I frequently end up fast forwarding through certain love scenes when the actors just aren't quite there. But the new shows, like, I don't know, 25-30%. Basically every side quest I fast forward through because it's so fucking boring and nothing happens. And they're just templated. They're templated characters built on a system that is as inhuman as it can get. Well, no, it's not as inhuman as it can get, but it's almost like an anti-human. It's like this typifying and templating of characters into these rigid, manifested, reified ideological spaces where nobody lives and where nothing about it is human and where should takes the place of is. And that shit's for fantasy, man. Okay? Reify in a book. Reify in imagination. But don't reify humanness to become that which you wish it was. Okay? We cannot idealize and perfect humanity. If we could, eugenics would work. We wouldn't have mental illness anymore because we basically worked as hard as we could to kill or make infertile or make it impossible, like, you know what I mean? Sorry, but there's asylums over the okay, and that's just never going to happen. Okay, certain things are just universal expressions of the human genome, and until we begin to plan for, mitigate for, and engage with those universal structures of expression, those patterned expressions, and how they interact with, impact, and destruct society, I don't know. I think we're going to be stuck in a recursive loop, right? The gyre is going to expand and it's going to thin and it's going to collapse and it's going to expand, it's going to thin and it's going to collapse. And that is what we've been doing for the better part of 3,000 years. Why can humans not evolve beyond that? I don't know. I suspect it's because we refuse to mitigate. I suspect it's because we refuse to mitigate for that which is inherently manipulative and dangerous in its universal expression in the human genome. And I suspect it's because we continually prioritize neurotypical emotional weighting in our hierarchies of what matters when it comes to interpersonal engagements, employment, all manner of interpersonal realities. And that's just what I think about that.